शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आपदापहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम् आर्तानामार्तिहन्तारं वीतानां विधिनाशनं द्विषतां कालदण्डन्तं रामचन्द्रं नमाम्यहम् मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वादात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं सरसा नमामि कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलं चरितं रघुनाथस्य शतकोटिप्रविस्तरम् एकैकमक्षरं पुंसां महापातकनाशनम् हरि ओम्. So we have seen the Sundarkandam talk from up to Sarga 54. Sarga 54, what we have seen is the exploits of Hanuman, having gone into the Lanka and having tried to look into every nook and cranny as to where Sita was could have been kept. He tried to find everywhere, and in fact, he explores in that process, including the palace of Ravana and all other important places. He is able to identify the important locations, including the topography of the entire Lanka was. He did a recce of that. He had the very good idea of the entire city. Where the guards are there, where the security is weak, where the security is sort of strong. He tried to assess everything. As it is, it was 3-layer, 4-layer security was there in most of the places. So it was invincible for anyone to get into Lanka. Having seen that, he has assessed everything and he went through. Finally, he landed up in Ashokavana. When he tried to take the Ashokavana, because when he sees a lady, because by the side of the Ashokavana, the river was going on. When she was a lady was trying to do the morning ablutions, as she was trying to invoke, because give argya to the sun god, as per the practice, any sort of a married female, because with the divine properties, would look, he was able to see, and he was just able to make a guess. It could be none other than, because such a sparkling sort of divinity oozing out of, the entire person made him to sort of feel that she could be nothing but the Sita, and he wanted to ensure that she is Sita, and then he wanted to ensure that he is able to approach the Sita in the right way. So he went to the tree under which she was being always sitting and meditating, looking for Rama. That is, the Shinshupa tree. In the Ashokavana, he was there, and he went into one of the branches of the tree, and he was hanging there, and he was trying to see what is happening. In the meanwhile, Ravana, as usual, he was coming here to persuade Sita in his usual style, and he was being repelled back, like a sort of a blade of grass, because as he is not fit, not more than that, and he goes back. This has been going on and all. She's being surrounded by all the wild-looking rakshasas with disfigured, the sort of outfits, as well as the people were trying to create a sort of a terror in her always. And but then because there was only one particular who was very very sort of a reasonable one. She only even knew because what Sita could be, and that we have already seen, because and she also had a dream, and she always felt, because but in her dream, that lady's dream, and it came that Lanka was not safe, when a Vanara comes there and all. That has been woman, that's predicting what are all the things to happen. As it had, Ravana could narrate the entire story of the Rama and Infraku Vamsa, and till such time, because he could come to Kishkinda, and then what has happened. He narrated entire thing, and he gained the confidence of Sita. Yes, he is the Duta from Rama, and sent by Sugriva on the noble purpose of finding out her location, because the mandate was to find out Sita. Had it been, because suppose if he has been mandated to bring back the Sita, he could have, but it was not the mandate. He mandated to only find out the Sita. And then Hanuman himself was not knowing, whether he will be able to accomplish the purpose, the entire purpose himself, because he was not aware, because it had got the 4 layers of security all through, and everywhere, people are having, because various powers, as Rakshasa are endowed with, and to get into sort of a sanctorium of palace itself is a big problem. But having come as a Duta, he wanted to accomplish uh, all the jobs and all the sort of required to be done by a diplomat. Having come as an emissary, he tried to complete that, because having seen Sita, then he wanted to catch the attention of he wanted to meet Ravana and convey the message, because he's Rama's emissary sent by Sugriva, and what is in store for them, if they don't, comply, by returning Sita, because which is the dreadful act he has committed, despite, he is being a tapasvi, having got the enormous powers to do whatever, he can do. He was simply been wasting all his powers on this undesirable act, which is taking away, because all these sort of positive effects of all the powers, and rendering him vulnerable to the eventual sort of, the punishment he is likely to face. So he wanted to convey that. In that process, he didn't know what to do. Having been a Vanara, having seen, how to catch the attention, because as a Vanara, no one takes him seriously. After all, because if a human being or a Rakshasa, a Gandharva is gone, they would have taken. But in order to gain the attention, after all, having a Vanara, no one thinks, a Vanara is capable of doing all these things. In the garb of Vanara, of course, is Hanuman has got, he is a Pavan Putra, he has got the indomitable courage and the powers to do whatever he wants to, that he himself realizes only when he is able to do, and he has been given to understand his own power, Jambavan, before embarking upon his travel to Lanka. So he, in order to catch the attention, he destroys the entire Ashokavana, other than the place where Sita was sitting, and around those places he left it, and rest of the places, and he goes around and wreaks havoc entire in the Lanka, and in fact, he also sets it, because in such a way he sets fires to a lot of places, and he, by in that process, because he had also, all the gods who comes to overpower him have been destroyed, and including one of the sons of Ravana, Akshay, he also succumbs. Finally, it is the Indrajit who comes with all the powers, he has got with the Brahmastra, Rudrastra, and all other astra, but finally he uses the Brahmastra. Even Brahmastra doesn't have any sort of a, because Hanuman is immune to Brahmastra because of the boon he has got, because it will not affect him. He is always on the noble purpose. He is not going to seek anything for himself. And because of that, Brahmastra also, can't do anything, but he pretends as if he has been bound by Brahmastra. Then he has been taken to Ravana's court, where he encounters Ravana with all the rage and all, because then finally, having killed all his commanders, 5 commanders, and one of his sons, because all the valiant, the all the army people, whom he had sent, army commanders, who he had sent, and everyone has been destroyed. Finally, he just sort of submitted himself to Indrajit Brahmastra and went there to give the message. Finally, when Ravana was so angered, he wanted to punish him, and because he wanted to set him on fire. On Vibhishana's intervention, as a diplomat, as an emissary, he should it should not be done, and it is not behoving the king of Ravana's stature with all the all the tapas and the powers he possesses. Finally, they can say, because you can just give some small punishment, like, you can disfigure some part of it. Finally, they set fire to his tail, and Hanuman uses it as a ruse to set fire the entire Lanka, and having reduced Lanka to ashes and wreaking havoc everywhere and all. Now, because he's having burnt everything and all, he is full of delight. He has done everything, whatever he has accomplished. In that process, he has also understood, he has sent the message. If An emissary who is not even a human being, and Vanara can inflict so much of a damage. What if, because the entire Rama and his army come here, what will happen? Because he has given them the fear psychosis in them. As he was able to embark further into that, the entire Lanka and the citizens were dazed as to what happened to their beautiful city. And in fact, the city had got all the embellishment, because it had got all the festoons and the groves, and it's got the flora and fauna and oozing out beauty everywhere and all well laid out buildings, and because all the buildings were designed to specific, because purpose, and they all had the beauty accompanied with that. And because even Ravana's palace was also so matchless, because even Hanuman is sort of befuddled to see such a wonderful place, he has never seen, even in his dreams. Having seen this, but the entire, because having Lanka has been reduced to this, and they were all wondering as to how this has happened, how this beautiful city has come to such a pass. The Hanuman decided, because now his tail which has still been burning, let him just douse the fire in his tail, and he just goes into the ocean and immerses his tail so that, the fire could be extinguished. But when as he extinguishes the fire, then because he feels, he has done a great mistake, in his anger to show who is he in, what is the power, because Rama and the army can inflict on that, mindlessly he has burnt the entire Lanka. He was wondering, because whether it could have even the burnt the place, where Ashokavana Sita was staying, whether she has succumbed to the fire, whether she has succumbed to the fire, he was not sure. He cursed himself. See, anger takes away man's wisdom, and the same thing has happened. And I also showed the traits of a Vanara, like a monkey, what it can do when it is, on a sort of a mischievous mood. So I should not have done it, because in fact I myself should be burnt to death, if anything like that happened. But then a ray of hope, he will no. See, he knows Sita. He has seen her, because the pristine, pure, and the sparkling, the divinity oozing out from her. He thought, because she can even burn everything, she could have done this. He could have even burnt Ravana to pieces, even like a blade of grass. She has not done it, because it is the prerogative of the Rama. So here the philosophical allusion is, it is the soul when it gets everything it's done. Sita is supposed to be allegory to the soul. Rama is to the Antaratma, Paramatma. So finally, when you do everything, you are supposed to have been is sort of done at the instance of the Paramatma, Antaratma. Naham karta, hari karta. It is being done through us. It's being done through us. We are only an instrument. We are not doing anything. Even a mother shows the love to the child. The mother sometimes, the mother could be also even loveless towards the child, but it is the Antaratman, because as Antaratman, the living power in the mother makes her to give the love, the motherly love to the child. And it is in effect, it is finally even the mother's love is also is based on, because whatever he is, because everything is done as assistance. Once you take it, it is the soul always wrong, because it gets everything as an instrument. So once it submits itself to the Antaratman, surrenders itself to the Antaratman, finally whatever it is done, it is only the wishes of the Paramatman. As Isavasya Upanidam says, Ishavashyam idagum sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. That means he is there everywhere, inside us and outside us. He gets the thing done for us, done by us. And whatever we are dealing with, it's also, because it's all came out of his will, and it came out of his, he is also living in all those inanimate and animate and all Chetanas, he is there. So once you know that, you don't have any fear, because it is finally he is the one, who is operating the entire thing. You are part of it, and even others are also being operated by him. Then what is the fear? Isavashyam idagam sarvam yatkinchi jagatyam jagat tene taktiyan bhunjitaha. Once whatever he has given, you are going to be content with that, what is there. So that's why, because even having done that, there should not be any fear. So then spark comes into the Hanuman's mind. It could not have happened to him. She is such a pristine pure. She could have burnt even the fire. The flame of the fire could have been burnt by Sita's power of, because the divinity and the purity. And what to speak, she could, it could not have happened. And then he gets an Akashvani, Sita is very much safe. And because having been in his such a noble act, automatically, because he was given the necessary sort of communication at the right point of time, then he rushes back to Sita to find out that he is so doubly happy to see she is with the same spark, and the same divinity. She is sitting and near the under the Shinchupa tree, and because he just goes and prostrates and seek her blessings. And she was so happy that you alone could have done everything. You have done so much, and perhaps you alone could have destroyed everyone, including Ravana. Perhaps you could have taken me back also. I could have also done. But then she says, it is the prerogative of the Rama, because he's a Paramatman. It is his prerogative. That's why what to do, what should happen, and all he should decide. We have to do our job. Our job is not expecting anything in return. But she is carrying on all the qualities, because that is required to be the divine being, because despite, because Ravana's incessant attempts to try to, because meet her and give all sorts of his own, amorous words and all, she repelled him every moment, and she threw him like a blade of grass. And at the same time, she forgave and she pitied him. Having been a tapasvi, what sort of, because finally he has been endowed with the wisdom. Because he is not still, he has to undergo so many struggles, before he gets that. So that is the divine force. So having done that, because she is in such a mood, and then she says, Hanuman, I am very happy. She says, why don't you stay for one more day and take some rest? And you have done so much of a thing and all. Because you should remember the entire Sundarakandam, what has happened is one day and one night. It's not more than a day. So as ordained and as he has to come, and his purpose is to find out Sita and report back. No emissary goes beyond the mandate. He has done that, and he has also proved his point by showing what would happen if an emissary could inflict so much of a damage. If the master comes, what would happen? They should know. They know the inevitable is certainly will happen, and they have to be prepared for that. That is the message he has given. Having given that, then he took permission of Sita. Well, and I have done. Now I will have to tell my master immediately this great news. He is waiting for that. Sugriva has assigned me this task. Having come that, I will have to fulfill that. Don't worry, he said, console Sita. You just take it for granted. You have seen my powers, and because I am one of the smallest of the entire species in Sugriva's army. If I could inflict so much of a damage, there are so many, because the masters are there, and Rama himself is there, Lakshmana is there, Sugriva, because of their blessings, and he is there with the fervor. He's, because it's all question of time. Ravana's death is coming, oncoming, and everything is going to be, the entire army is going to be here, and you are going to be freed. Because it will all happen, because within a month, because he says, he gives the assurance, and then he takes, there is one mountain called Arista, and the peak of that mountain he puts his feet with such a ferocious power. The entire mountain crumbles, and because then it becomes into sort of a, comes to the level of earth. Which is supposed to be having 20 yojanas width and 30 yojanas. One yojana is more than hundreds of kilometers, several kilometers, and because there is a measure of that, that entire thing, because of the power with which he pressed to climb into the sky and fly back to his destination back. So they all crumbled to earth, and it came, and so he was in full of because the mood of happiness. He was in the, he was elated. He has achieved the power. He is rather carrying the great message to Rama that itself has given him so much, and he has accomplished the task which he was doubting himself when he embarked upon. As he was flying, because he was just going above in the blue ocean for several miles. As the Mahendra Hills came to sight, where all the Jambavan and all the because Vanaras were waiting for him. He was highly elated, because as they were all waiting, and Angada was just been, he couldn't wait no longer. He just wanted Hanuman to be seen. In the moment, he could see with the roar of like a lion, as he was coming down. So when he came, all of them were happy, and they were all so sort of overjoyous. They didn't know sort of a limit to their happiness. They went berserk, and they were celebrating every moment of it. And the Jambavan brought everything to their senses, and he was trying to ask him, he questioned him, raised questions. Because Jambavan is sort of a leader of the entire strategic team, because he knows, because he wanted to know what are all the things, what happened, because what he told Ravana, how he dealt with, all those Rakshasas. And then he was also thinking, because what are all the things, which will have to be importantly told to Rama, because Rama has to be given the gist of the information, because it is like a management, study. You may make a report, but you will have to make an executive summary to say which are all the important points, actionable points, which are all the ones, because which are not immediate, but they are all there as a piece of information. The actionable points will have to be highlighted. That's what, they were all thinking about that as they were narrating, and as they were all happy to see. Angada was doubly happy because Angada was his in throne, because next to Sugriva, because having been Vali's son, and he is the one who is supposed to be doing, he was doubly happy. And Jambavan, he also thought, because having seen everything and all, and Hanuman narrated the entire thing. When Jambavan and these colleagues asked how he could, while going, what are all the obstacles he had encountered, how he crossed the Mainaka, that entire hill, how, because entire the Lanka, because the guard, because how she refused entry and how he could get into Lanka, how he faced hurdles in everything, every point, how he could finally get into the court of Ravana, how, because Vibhishana's intervention, because only his tail was set on fire, and he could, otherwise, because he could have lost his life also. That possibility is there. Of course, he had the divine grace and power to come out of that, but the possibility was very much there. And he narrated entire thing, and they were all happy. Finally he has accomplished the task which was considered to be so impossible at the beginning. So that's what Sundarakanda says. No task is impossible. No obstacles is impossible to get over. They will all, this too shall pass, will definitely happen once you put your mind, the pristine pure mind, like the divine purity of Sita, once you have no bad intention, your intentions are good, your actions are good, and if you surrender yourself, to the Almighty for whatever outcome, and give your best, certainly, karmanyeva adhikarasto mapalesha katachana. That has been proved every word by word what Hanuman says in the Sargas 56, 57, and 58. And as he was going about telling all these things, because all the Angada also says, because I think, this is the, we should immediately do it. Angada was so excited, you having single-handedly dealt with all these Rakshasas, why can't we just go and get the Sita back and take her to Rama? Because that would have been much more better, that's because in his excitement, over enthusiasm. At that point of time, this is again a management lesson. Jambavan says, look, his mandate is only to go and find Sita. And the embodiment of truth, the ultimate power, his prerogative, because he will, because that will be the prerogative, because whether she, how to, after finding the Sita, what are all the things to be done is prerogative. You should do. So, therefore, you will have to concentrate on the particular focus with which you are doing it. You should not get over enthusiastically get into the areas, and finally because that is not your area, and you will have to go by what is in your command and control. Then you do it. But though you may be appearing to be having all the power, you don't know what is it that waiting for, because when you are not able to assess the imponderables, that is the one. Once you surrender, all the imponderables will be taken care by the Antaratman. That is the great lesson for everyone to embark upon it. We have seen in our day-to-day life, in all walks of life, in management, politics, and even in the family, how people think, because they are be all and end all, finally how they end up, because it is not their fault. Because once you think, because once your wisdom is clouded, the wisdom will get the clarity as long as His grace is there. Once the grace stopped, because once again you are not able to take the grace, it is up to you. So it is for you only to get it guided. And because this is what Jambavan says, we should not be thinking in those lines. Our mandate is to go and find Sita, that Hanuman has successfully done. He has faced all those things. We should immediately go back and report to Rama, Lakshmana, and Sugriva. We will get back. So when all of them then decide, because they were all very in a happy mood, and they all come towards they come to Kishkinda, because they embark upon first, because the great, they have got centuries, their own garden of the gods, like Eden garden of those areas. It is called Madhuvana. They come into the Madhuvana. Madhuvana is a cherished garden of Sugriva and his forefathers. For centuries it is kept. And it has been kept so perfectly, and it is such as sylvan surroundings, serenity of the highest order. So all those things, and all these Sami and Vanara and Hanuman, Angada, Jambavan, all of them landed. But the entire in the army of the Vanaras, Angada and all others, they were all so in ecstatic mood. They wanted to celebrate the great achievement, accomplishment done by Hanuman. They were all swinging on the trees. They were just sucking the honey, and they were all going helter-skelter. They were going berserk. And in fact, because they have even such a beautiful garden of Madhuvana has been turned into shambles because of, the over-excitement and the ecstatic mood of all these Vanaras. And the entire, because Madhuvana is so close to the heart of Sugriva, he has kept one of his very close associated, who is supposed to be the grandfather of one of the grandfathers of Gada, Datimuka. He is the in charge of that. He is the one for generation. He is very senior to Angada and all, because the grandfather time. He is looking after, he was meticulously looking after every area, including every plant and every flora, fauna. He knows, how many bees are there, how many butterflies are coming, how many birds are coming, everything, and so beautifully he used to maintain it. Such a dedicated, the guard. He got so wild, and he was thinking, because what these fellows are such a, if I go and report to Sugriva, all of them will be put to death. So Dadimuka feels that, and I think finally he thinks, that these people are so drunk, all these Vanaras, they were not listening to, and in fact they were trying to, they were going to attack, Dadimuka, and Dadimuka, in a fit of anger, he picks up a big tree, because uproots a tree, and he wants to just take them out, in one go. Then Angada overpowers him. Angada is more powerful, and he is the heir in throne, and he overpowers him, little knowing he is one of his grandfather type of person. And having done that, Dadimuka got so angry, because not only these fellows have destroyed the centuries old, and it is a sort of a family treasure and the family silver, and they are trying, let me go and report to Sugriva. I think all these fellows should be taught a lesson. They should be put into death. And he goes and reports to Sugriva. When Sugriva hears what happened, he says, Angada and all these people came. This is what has happened. Then Sugriva makes a guess. Why? Because these people, they would not be normally, they are so serious and dedicated. And why they are there. Then he said there could have been a good news. So he is doubly happy, is it that? And he forgot, such a centuries old, and the family silver, has been spoiled. Instead that, because, then it is he immediately tells Rama, look, there is a good news. Otherwise, because these people would not have gone so helter-skelter and berserk, and there must be a good news. I think Sita has been found. Ask them to come immediately and meet us. Then Dadimuka comes back, and he apologizes to Angada. Sorry, because I thought, but on the contrarily, I thought he is going to punish all of you. On the other hand, he wants to meet all of you. So he apologized to Angada. Angada and all his team, they Jambavan, Hanuman and all, they go and prostrate in front of Rama, Sugriva and Lakshmana. They meet him there. And because having done that, and then Rama asks him, what happened. Once he knows, first what Hanuman says is, does it. He looks at the direction in which Lanka is there, where Ashokavana is there. He first prostrates in front of Rama. He just offers his worshipful offerings to Sita first. Why? Because he says, because, and he was, although he has been here all along with all the Vanaras and all, his mind has been totally taken in by the sparkle of, divine sparkle of Sita. He says, because that is where, when the pristine, pure mind, once the mind becomes pristine, pure, and the level of, because your being, itself is a different. Because even the get the highest bliss, you are at the point of getting, because the supreme bliss, and the rest of the small things, will not matter to you. So he was so sort of taken in. First, he offers the prostration and all the respects to Sita first. Then he offers prostrates Rama. Just to show, because that one act will give, because how soul is longing to Paramatman. And Paramatman is equally, because sort of is going to give redemption to the soul. This is exactly the allegorical interpretation of this particular act. We will also see next, because when how it Rama reacts to that and all. In the next few Sargas, we will be seeing that. I'm seeing that, because his tears flow down Rama's cheeks. He is, because the first I have seen Sita, Pashyantu Sita, because he has seen that. And having seen contained Sita, because in Kamba Ramayanam says, those Champu Ramayanam also gives a beautiful verse on this. And having tears roll down, and in fact, because in such a way, he says, fit of, the ecstatic movement, he says, Lakshmana, take me to Sita immediately, he says. He was so, having the very word, that he could see, because how the pristine pure mind, the soul is found, how the Paramatman is immediately being attracted towards that, and he wants to give everything, because he is always guiding, he is getting done everything and all. This is what, the interpretation they say. And it is the interpretation as we surrender, because that is not the impossible things as it happens, unfolds, because when you find, is it all possible and all, these are all only happens, because of such a dedication. And then, because once you leave rest to the Paramatman, he takes care of them. And finally, he hands over the Chudamani. And Chudamani, having seen that, because he gets into still a sort of a nostalgic memory of those days, when it was given. It was the Chudamani given by Indra to Janaka. And Janaka in turn has given it to Janaki at the time of wedding. And it has got such an importance. He says, I am only holding the Chudamani in my hand. It's not that, because holding the Chudamani itself, he was feeling, not Sita, because that the moment, he feels, as if he has seen Sita, it feels, but at the other moment, he says, she is still there in Lanka. That puts him, into sort of emotional tangle with these things, because having brought the entire thing, to them, but after all, finally, it is the ecstatic, accomplishment of the task that fulfills the heart of Rama, Lakshmana, and Sugriva. Hanuman prostrates in front of them, hands over Chudamani. The rest of the thing, because then we will see, how Rama reacts and how Rama comes into this entire Sundarakandam. He starts here in the 66th Sarga, and his presence is there only in 67 and 68 Sarga, which we are going to recite next week. And we will see what are all the reactions, how it has got a divine divine intonation, and what are all the allegorical, philosophical meaning that will be there, we will see next week. With this, we will be completing today's talk. And with this, we have completed the Sargas up to 66. We have given a gist of entire thing apart from the recital we have done till yesterday. Thank you very much. Sahana avatu, Sahanau punaktu, Sahaviryam karavavahai, Tejasvinavadidamastu ma vishvidavahai. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्य परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिमयीं च गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्ति पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी तेषोऽयं शोभरहितो ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः लाभस्तेषां जयस्तेषां कुतस्तेषां पराजयः येषां दिवरश्यामो हृदयस्थो जनार्दनः रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेदसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताय पते नमः मंगलम कौसलेन्द्राय महनीय गुणात्मये चक्रवर्ती तनुजाय सर्वभौमाय मंगलम कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा अनुष्कृतो स्वभावात् करोमि यत्तत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. हरि ओम. Prabhupada, every guy